The chill is in the air, and what goes well with cold weather? Soups. The Coker Market, located in Coker, Alabama, has the following soups to choose from: meaty vegetable soup, which is absolutely delicious; loaded potato soup; black bean soup; smoked ham and white bean chili; regular chili, which is another great option; or Creole gumbo. Now, the Coker Market is open Wednesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until 7 p.m. And to find out which soups they are going to have each day, you can find out at the Coker Market's Facebook page, The Coker Market. So check out their Facebook page today to see what kind of soups that the Coker Market is going to have, and go by there and get warmed up with some of the soups there at the Coker Market. This is the Stingray Show, and coming up on this edition, we are doing a preview of the matchup between Alabama and Georgia in the SEC Championship game on Saturday. This is the third time since Kirby Smart took over at Georgia that this matchup has been featured in Atlanta in the SEC Championship game. Can Georgia finally get the monkey off of their back and beat Alabama, because Kirby Smart is now 1-8 against the Crimson Tide? Or will Alabama continue to dominate the Bulldogs? ESPN senior writer Mark Schlabach is on deck to join us right after this open, and then Joe Gaither from Bama Central joins us to talk about this game from the Alabama side. That's all ahead on this edition of the Stingray Show.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Look out, you're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, aka Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee. You know, Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No, I mean, look, no.
Heath, Stingray, Here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good, kind of sexy on the surface, yeah. But then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, with the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
And with that, I want to welcome you inside the SEC Championship preview show between Alabama and Georgia. And like I was saying off the top of the show, this matchup has been 3 times in the SEC Championship game. The first one was back in 2018. Alabama won 35-28. Then we had it again in 2021, where Alabama dominated 41-24. Then we had it in 2023, in which Alabama won again 27-24. Can Kirby Smart finally get the monkey off of his back and beat Alabama? Because he has only knocked them off one time, and that one was for the national championship there in Indianapolis. Mark Schlabach, senior writer of ESPN and Georgia alum, is on deck right now to talk about Georgia and the Bulldogs. Mark, how are things with you over in the great state of Georgia? And let's go on ahead and start off. Talk about, because you helped cover the Lane Kiffin saga. Talk about that briefly.
It was wild. I've covered a bunch of those, and that one was definitely the craziest. Marty Smith, who did a tremendous job on TV for us, told me about halfway through Saturday, said, "Man, I'm just not built for these." I said, "They're tough, Marty. They're tough." And Pete Thamel and I do a lot of them every year, but nah, there's a lot of sitting around in Oxford, unfortunately, waiting for Lane to come out of meetings and trying to get him when he came out of the football building there. But quite the scene at the airport on Sunday when he was leaving. It looked like American diplomats fleeing Afghanistan. And Virg Osbury, their AD, when he found out on the plane that they were no longer picking up Lane and his family in Tupelo and they were going straight to Oxford, he said, "To Oxford, they might fire missiles at us." So it was wild, Stingray.
So, what did you ultimately think about the move of Lane going from Ole Miss to LSU, especially right here where Ole Miss is going to the playoffs and this football team, and you could argue this is the best season in program history for them?
Yeah, I mean, the timing's not ideal. And look, I get people saying that it's not Lane's fault, it's the calendar. It's not his fault. Florida and LSU and even Florida State wanted him, and that's all true. But I think it just became so public, I think was the biggest criticism he had in Oxford. He interviewed with Scott Strickland, the Florida AD in Oxford. The LSU flew the planes to Oxford
Right.
to pick up his family a couple of weeks ago to do a visit to Baton Rouge, and then they made a visit to Florida, I think, the day before. So it just became so public, and Ole Miss fans thought Lane was trolling them, and really just hijacked the season and made it all about him and instead of the players and what they'd accomplished. And I think in the end, even though he said the players wanted him to stick around and coach them in the playoff, I think they were done with the drama. I think that's what
Yes.
they told Keith Carter, the athletic director, and they felt like it was time to move on, and they just wanted to make sure that Pete Golding and the assistant coaches were staying.
Yes.
There's Heath.
Yep.
Hey, Mark.
Merry
I heard you
Christmas.
the whole time. Stephen just didn't pull me up. Mark, this whole Lane Kiffin thing. I heard the story. We talked about this on the show yesterday. I heard about the story years ago that Juice Kiffin wasn't his dog. Like, he didn't feed it. He didn't take care of it. Sometimes it's at his house for events, this and that. Sometimes it's in his office when folks are coming through. And I was like, well, that's an incredible PR move. Good for them. And I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was common knowledge that this dog wasn't his. With the dog and the whole thing, what is something else that just kind of shocked you with all of this? And did you know that Juice wasn't really his dog?
Well, somebody had told me over the weekend, and then I saw the stuff on Twitter about it. But being the hard investigative journalist that I am, Heath, I called Wild Rose Kennels in Oxford. And initially, the guy didn't want to talk to me. He said they'd gotten a bunch of calls about it. He said, "Look, man, it's Lane's dog. He owns the dog. Now, whether or not he exercises it, feeds it, cuddles it, I don't know." But then we started talking, of course, the dog guy. We started talking about Tubby, my chocolate lab. But I don't know. The craziest thing, I mean, the wildest thing to me, I was standing at the airport and I'm talking to this guy, Joe Ignatius, who played baseball at Ole Miss and was at the airport with a couple hundred fans. And I was mostly trying to talk to adults because every time I talked to a student, every other word out of his mouth was F.
You don't.
I said, I can't use any of that. But so I'm talking to Joe Ignatius, and he's telling me about, he was naive. He didn't think he would do it to us, blah, blah, blah. He said, "Man, I really feel bad for my 8th grader, Bo." I said, "What?" He goes, "Bodacious." I was like, "Bodacious Ignatius?" He said, "Yes, sir." And I said, "That's the greatest name I have ever heard." I said, "You just made the story." And he made the story. But it, the problem, and I asked some people about it earlier this season, but I didn't use it until that story. That when Will Muschamp was the Florida coach, he tried to hire Lane as his offensive coordinator, and the Florida people came back and said, "You can't hire him because the SEC won't let you." And then 2 weeks later, he went to Alabama to coach for Nick Saban. And I don't think Mike Slive or Greg Sankey, if he was the AD at the time, I don't think they did it. I think Florida people did it because they hated Lane so much from when he was at Tennessee taking shots at Urban Meyer. There was all kinds of stuff. I mean, the biggest, other than the fact that Florida State was actively trying to get him, and Lane had interest in Florida State in the past. When Mike Norvell was thinking about leaving Florida State to go to Alabama, they'd reached out to Lane and said, "You're our guy if he leaves," and he ultimately ended up staying. Talking to people on the Ole Miss staff, Lane has always felt like Florida State was a great job because it's an easier path to the CFP, but that doesn't matter as much anymore. Talking to people at Florida over the last month or so, Heath, they thought Lane was signed, sealed, and delivered to Florida.
Oh,
they thought they were getting him. They thought there was going to be a press conference in like 2 weeks.
Graham Hall, who's on the beat there at Florida, said repeatedly on the show that I'll be shocked if it's not Lane. And even going into the last weekend, he came off a little bit. He said, I think there's a 70% chance it'll be Lane. I was like, here we go. The doubt's coming in.
I know a PGA golfer that's a big Gator fan. He thought he was coming. Talking to former players down there, they're like, it's a better job than LSU. We're a better brand. And I was like, are you?
Right.
You've gone through quite a few coaches since Urban Meyer left. Your facilities weren't great. They've made some improvements. They're landlocked, so they can't do a ton in terms of new buildings and things like that. LSU, I don't think their advantage is as big as it once was before the portal and before NIL.
Right.
They had a huge advantage because every kid in Louisiana dreams about playing for LSU at Tiger Stadium on a Saturday night.
Yes.
Now I don't think it matters as much, but it's still an advantage. I mean, look, he shows up in Baton Rouge, and the number one recruit in the class of 2026 is sitting in his office. So, whether or not the kid actually signs, we'll see, because there's already drama in Baton Rouge, and only Lane Kiffin could turn it into a fiasco within 24 hours.
I know Steven's got a question. I was going to squeeze this in real quick while we're talking about it. I've had 2 interactions with Scott Strickland. We're not acquaintances. We're not friends. They were both friendly interactions. There wasn't anything negative or anything of the sort. I think very highly of Scott Strickland. I know some Florida fans don't. But with all of that being said, Scott Strickland's a man of character. And some people are saying Scott Strickland will be SEC commissioner one day. He's in that running of a few people that could be running the conference one day. I know he's a man of character. Do you think that, because I started reading some of the stuff, and I don't necessarily believe all the stuff that's been put out there here recently, because I never do. But Lane said, there was kind of a negative vibe, a weird vibe is what he called it. When Scott Strickland said, we want to have a GM here in place that will report to us, not to you. We want to hire a former NFL guy. And Lane said that just kind of put a weird vibe on everything. Your thoughts on that? And was that just kind of a front? Maybe Scott Strickland pushed up like, this is the way we don't get Lane Kiffin, because I don't want to bring this fiasco to Gainesville. I think it'll be bad long term. Am I wrong with thinking that?
No, I remember back in 2021 when they hired Billy Napier. I remember some conversations I had where there were some reservations about his character and just the off-field stuff. And Lane was still damaged goods at that point because of the way he left Alabama. I remember being on the Paul Feinbaum show, and Paul was talking about Lane Kiffin being a candidate for the Alabama job when Nick Saban retired. And I said, Paul, he was fired the Monday before the national championship game. I said, I don't know that he'll ever get the Alabama job, at least as long as Greg Byrne's still the athletic director. And I think Scott Strickland had some of those same concerns. There was a report out there, and I'm not going to criticize anybody else's reporting because, I think Kiffin had heard that, I think it was John Talty for CBS said that Scott Strickland was too meddlesome in the Florida football program. I think if Scott Strickland was overly meddlesome in the Florida football program, he would have made Billy Napier hire an offensive coordinator at some point,
right? Which
is what he probably should have done. So I don't know. It's who the Florida fans wanted. I don't know John Sumrall at all. I've never talked to him. There are a couple of people on our staff who know him very well and speak very highly of him. I think Florida got a great football coach. I think Lane Kiffin could win two or three national championships at LSU just because of the resources there and the recruiting base we talked about. Whether or not it happens, we'll see. But he just left a damn good program at Ole Miss and a really good football team.
Lane's a little bit like Mike Leach. Steven, I'm sorry, I know you got that question. But Lane's a little bit like Mike Leach. He will randomly drop a game or two out of nowhere during the season. He didn't do that this year. But I'm going to laugh if he starts dropping that game to John Summerall there at Florida. It's going to tickle if that's.
I mean, it's going to be. I mean, I just tried to book a room this morning for Oxford, September 19th, 2026. I will be there for a week. I'm making an apartment in Baton Rouge.
40 minutes away. We'll break bread together this time.
Yeah, it is going to be fantastic.
Right. So, Mark, let's go ahead and talk about something that is more pressing right now, and that is the SEC championship game at 3 p.m. Central on Saturday. It is Alabama, and it is Georgia again. And Kirby earlier this season fell to 1-8 in his tenure over at Georgia versus Alabama. Why do you think that Kirby just can't get over the hump against the Crimson Tide of Alabama?
Yeah, I think it's one of the great mysteries in college football right now because he's been so good against everyone else.
Right.
And they just can't get past the hump. I think he's 0-3 against Alabama in SEC championship games. I want to say he's 1-7. I don't want to give him that one more loss there, Stephen. You may be forecasting ahead correctly though.
Oh, okay.
We'll see on Saturday. But I think they do things against Alabama that they don't do against other teams. They make mistakes. They drop passes. They miss a block on 4th and goal at the goal line. That's what happened. I was at the Ryder Cup when they played in Athens earlier this season, but they had 2 freshmen starting on the right side of the offensive line. They tried to hurry up and run a toss to Cass Jones, I think it was, or a screen pass, and they get stopped on 4th and goal. He probably should have kicked a field goal there. They probably shouldn't have gone hurry up, called timeout if you're going to go for it and get the right play. Going all the way back to 2012, I think it was, they went hurry up under Mark Richt at the end of the game and completed a pass and the clock ran out. So, I mean, that's what has happened in this game. And I think going back to, like 2008, they've lost 11 out of 12, maybe?
Right.
I mean, it's a drought. There's no question about it. I think most of the time under Nick Saban, I think they had better players. But I think now Georgia has better players. I think Georgia has probably a better coaching staff, but I think Kalen DeBoer's already beat him twice. So we'll see what happens. But, I think Saturday night, I think Alabama has a ton of more reason to win. I think they have to win to get into the college football playoff. So that they may be more motivated, but I think Georgia's going to be motivated to avenge that earlier loss. Both teams are banged up, and we'll see what happens.
So, Mark, when we get into the matchup itself, where do you feel like that Georgia can take advantage of Alabama?
Well, I mean, in the first meeting, they ran for 227 yards. And Alabama's gotten a little bit better with the run defense. LT Overton's going to be out this game. Their stud interior lineman. Georgia center Mike Bobo, Drew Bobo, Mike Bobo's kid, who's by far their best offensive lineman, is going to miss the game with a foot injury. He may have surgery next week and sideline him for the rest of the season. They really missed him against Georgia Tech. They had a freshman, I think Malachi Tolliver is a freshman. He's either a freshman or sophomore. Hadn't played much at all because Bobo's been so dependable. He had a cut hand a couple of weeks ago and Tolliver. But, so I think that kind of evens things out a little bit maybe. Georgia has to get off the field on third down.
Yes.
Alabama went 13 for 19 on third down in Athens. I think they converted their first 9 third down conversions, jumped out 14-0, led by 10 at the half. And then Georgia's defense adjusted pretty well in the second half, but then Georgia couldn't get anything going on offense on third down. So stop third downs, convert third downs. It's pretty fundamental football. You got to figure out how to do it.
Mark, you mentioned Kalen DeBoer a second ago. Tim Brando's been very loud on Twitter this past week. Timmy B, his takes are sometimes fun, sometimes they're crazy and they're out there. But I started thinking this after the Oklahoma loss. When Bama lost to Oklahoma, I was like, man, he's going to get out. I was like, oh, he might take that Penn State job. And now it's kind of brewing a little bit. Timmy B's on Twitter yesterday talking about, you better back up the truck and keep him, blah, blah, blah. We could do a whole show on Penn State. We're an SEC show. We're going to keep it on the SEC. But have you heard anything about Kalen DeBoer going, talking to, interested, filling out anything with Penn State? And what in the world is Penn State going to do? Hire Dan Mullen? I mean, what's left? Trying to get Pete Carroll to come out of Las Vegas? Get Urban Meyer out of retirement? What are they going to do?
I don't know. I mean, I heard the DeBoer stuff early, and I touched base with some of DeBoer's people, and they said no. And then after they lost to Oklahoma, I felt like maybe if he lost the Iron Bowl, it could be a possibility because I think he would have needed an escape hatch out of Tuscaloosa because it would have gotten so ugly during the offseason. I've said from day one when they hired him 2 years ago, I think he's one of the best football coaches in America. He's won everywhere he's been. I get that he didn't come up in the SEC, and he's from South Dakota or North Dakota, wherever he was. And he coached at Fresno State, and he coached at Washington, and he coached at Sioux Falls or wherever it was. But this guy's a hell of a football coach. That fourth down call against Auburn takes some serious onions.
Yes.
And there aren't many guys in America that are willing to make that call in that situation, in that game, with so much at stake. And it was brilliant. And he's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. And I think, nobody wanted to take the job he did replacing Nick Saban.
Right.
You never want to be the guy that replaces the GOAT. And he's done it. And I think Alabama, the day, and I wrote this earlier in the years, I just think the days of Georgia and Alabama going unbeaten are over.
Right.
There's too much parity. There's 9. You're going to a 9-game schedule next year. I mean, Lane Kiffin told me a couple months ago when I was over there, fan bases and boosters and administrators have to get used to teams going 10-2 and 9-3 and making the playoff because that's just reality now.
Right. So, Mark, getting back to the SEC championship game, you are a Georgia alum. Where are you most concerned as a Georgia fan that Alabama can take advantage of the Bulldogs?
As a unbiased reporter, Stephen, this game will flip for the reasons. I think Georgia has to play well on the offensive line without Drew Bobo. I think they have to sustain drives.
Okay.
I think defensively they have to get pressure on Ty Simpson.
Mm-hmm.
He did not get any pressure in the first meeting, and he picked them apart. And that's why they went 13 for 19 on third down. I'm curious to see what Jam Miller's status is.
Right.
He was in a boot in the fourth quarter of the Iron Bowl. Is he ready to go? They got another running back that's out. Can Hill carry the entire load? Georgia's defense is a lot better than it was back in September. It's a really young team, really young defense. Ellis Robinson has stepped up at corner. Do they figure out a way to get Ryan Williams involved? I mean, that guy's
right.
They need to put him on the back of a milk carton right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's completely vanished.
Mark, you mentioned that Ron Williams situation, and I heard the fan conspiracy theory that they heard he was talking to other people and NIL and getting in the transfer portal and this and that. I'm not buying that. Could have happened. I'm not buying it, though, especially when you're in an arch rival game and you don't need an escape portal, as you mentioned, escape pod to believe if you lose the Iron Bowl like Kalen DeBoer could have done. But going back to that fourth down call that you were talking about, and you mentioned the onions comment, nice reference to Billy Packer. Loved Billy Packer. But with all of that, I just thought that was out of character for Kalen DeBoer to go for it on that fourth down. And that's kind of when I was kind of like, is he wanting to leave town? Is he already kind of made up his mind, like, I'm kind of getting out of here? And I know I already asked the question, but did that fourth down call catch you off guard? That's like, man, because I thought that was, I don't know him completely at his play calling, But just what I've seen so far out of Kalen DeBoer, I thought that was very outside of his character of what he would usually do in that situation, going for it late in the game, 4th and 2 in a tie ball game.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he threw it to an offensive tackle at Georgia. You know, Caden Proctor. I think he probably, in his mind, wondered if his defense could slow down Auburn enough.
Yes.
Where Auburn, if he kicked a field goal, Auburn would just drive down the field, score a touchdown, and win. Because they haven't been great on defense, particularly, the running quarterbacks.
Right.
And I got to throw a shout out to my boy Ashton Daniels, who's done a really nice job there. I didn't think he was going to get to play much at all at Auburn, but I played high school football with his father, Juan. I was a senior and Juan was a freshman, and Juan walked in the locker room and took my starting job, Stephen. They moved me to defensive end.
Oh. I think the Ashton Daniels, I won the SEC Fantasy Football League.
Yeah, Billy White Shoes Johnson for the Falcons.
Yeah.
He used to run at the track at our high school in Norcross, Georgia, and he'd come in after running and get water and cool off. And he came in one day, and our coach walked right past me and my buddy, and he said, "Billy, I want you to meet the next great receiver at Norcross High School." And he walked right by us and said, "This is Juan Daniels. He's a freshman." And we knew at that point our days were over.
Right. So, Mark, when you look at this matchup on Saturday, Georgia and Alabama needs it, like you talked about, for the playoffs. I do believe Georgia is still a lock for the playoffs, win or lose. How do you see it playing out in Atlanta for the 4th matchup of these two teams in Atlanta? The first 3 in the SEC championship game have gone Alabama's way. How do you see it Saturday in Atlanta?
I don't have a good feel one way or the other. I think maybe Georgia's a 2.5-point favorite. Mm-hmm. Is that right? I think it go either way. I think I will take the. I'll play the law of averages, Stephen. I think at some point Kirby Smart has to beat Georgia.
Yes.
And I think if it comes down, I think if it's going to be a close game. It'll come down to turnovers and special teams. And I trust Georgia's kicker a hell of a lot more than I trust Alabama's kicker at this point. He's one of the best kickers in the country. Connor Talty struggled a little bit. Georgia's got a really good punter. They got Zachariah Branch in the return game. He's close to breaking one, I think. So I'll go Georgia 24-20.
Wow. That's awesome.
But it would not surprise me in the least if Alabama beat Georgia again for the reasons we talked about. Drew Bobo's out. Gunner didn't play well last week against Georgia Tech. They got to get him more involved in the running game, but it'll be fun to watch. I think regardless, both of them are going to be playing in a. I think Georgia, regardless, will be playing in a playoff game. I think if Alabama wins, I think the committee will bump Alabama ahead of Georgia. You have to if they beat them twice, even though. So it'll be. They'll be curious to see what happens.
Now, Mark, if Alabama were to lose a 3-loss SEC team, do you feel like they still get in?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think at that point, Miami becomes a serious option. I mean, I'm pulling for complete chaos.
Yes.
I want 5-loss Duke to win the ACC championship. I would love to see Virginia win the ACC championship because I love Tony Elliott. I was there after that shooting where 2 players were killed, and it was absolutely tragic. And for him to pick that program up off the map emotionally and get them to where they are now,
right?
He deserves every Coach of the Year award there is. And I'd love to see them get it done. But if Duke were to somehow win that game, I think there is a serious possibility that they take the Sun Belt champion James Madison if they win, and they take Tulane if they win.
All right, and Mark, briefly, my final thing for you. We all love Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt.
That's where I was going.
A 10-win football team. do you see a path for them to make the field of the 12-team playoff?
Don't stop shaking your head, Mark. Say yes.
No, I want them to make it. I love Clark Lee. I love the Pavia story. I'm a big Jerry Kill fan.
Yeah.
What they've been able to do there at Vanderbilt, of all places, is absolutely incredible. And Pete Thamel just reported a few minutes ago that Vanderbilt explored the possibility of playing an exempt 13th game this weekend to give one final showcase for the college football playoff.
Wow.
ESPN. There was interest from the team, university officials, the athletic department, and coaching staff. Ultimately, logistically, they couldn't get it done.
Right.
I mean, look, the 2 losses are to who? Texas and Bama?
Alabama, yep.
I was at the Alabama game, and a couple turnovers in the red zone, or that thing's a lot closer than what it was. Now, who am I? You got to see what happens. If Texas Tech were to beat BYU, that knocks BYU out of the equation probably.
Yep.
Georgia would have to beat Bama, and then maybe it comes down to Miami and Vanderbilt.
Yes.
The last spot. And at that point, I think they probably take Miami and Notre Dame to justify taking Notre Dame because of Notre Dame's brand. They seem bound and determined to put them in there, even though they haven't beaten anybody.
Right.
Thank you.
It's almost like, and I grew up in South Bend. I grew up a Notre Dame fan.
Right.
But it's almost like for Notre Dame, we just forget they lost their first 2 games of the season because you want Notre Dame in the playoff.
Yeah, Mark. Now you fired me up, Mark. Thanks.
My dear friend Ivan Maisel is on the selection committee for the first time, and he's a Mobile guy, but he's one of the greatest people on the face of the earth. But I'm going to give you all his cell phone number so you can call to him to complain.
Okay.
Mark, talking about Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt, I think we had Chris Lee from Eastern 16 on the show, and he talked about how Diego has been cleared for next year, but he's not coming back. Can you start writing some love stories and love pieces of what could be a Diego winning the Heisman in 2026 if he would come back? Right. Look, the SEC doesn't need him, but we want him. I have never seen everyone fall in love with a player since Tim Tebow. Like they have with Diego Pavia. Like everybody in the SEC is watching Vanderbilt. Everyone's talking about Diego.
Yeah.
And you know, look, he's not everyone's cup of tea. I get it, but the guy is so incredibly fun to watch. And I don't want to see him get drafted or sign a undrafted free agent contract with the Jets or somebody and play a couple of preseason games and maybe we see him Canadian football. I don't want to see that happen. Mark, we're begging you. I know you have no power, but you have more power and say so than we do. Find a way to get Diego to fall in love with Vanderbilt for one more season. I know that's on my Christmas list. All right.
He would probably make more money at Vanderbilt than he would in the NFL because I don't know that he can start in the NFL. He may be able to. Nobody thought he'd be able to play Power 4 football for 4 years. I will say this: I have a Heisman vote, and barring something completely out of this world in the Big Ten game between Ohio State quarterback Julian Sayin and Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza, I will be voting for Diego Pavia because I don't think there's anybody in college football since maybe Tim Tebow that walked in and completely transformed a program like he did. And Florida was pretty damn good when Tebow got there.
Right.
And Vanderbilt was the SEC doormat. And he not only turned them into a winner, he saved Clark Lee's job.
Yes.
And, you know, I remember Barton Simmons, their general manager, told me when I was up there a few weeks ago, he said the first phone call Pavia had with Clark Lee, he said, "I'm coming to Vanderbilt. We're winning every effing game."
I heard Steve Robertson tell that same story on a podcast here recently.
Yeah, it was, he's phenomenal. And he made everybody in the building believe that they could win.
Right.
I'll say this though, Stephen and Heath, they may not need Diego Pavia anymore because they just signed the number 1 quarterback.
Right.
Yeah, I saw that.
In the class of 2025 and stole him from Georgia.
Yes.
What's going on, Mark, in this college football world? Is it the NIL or is it what is going on? Because everything seems a little bit out of whack, but I'm liking it. I don't like the portal. None of us do. I don't like NIL. Well, I kind of do like NIL because I think these players do deserve something. But with all of this just seems like a wacky world. And we had a top 10 team lose every single week this year, except for week 13. Every single week, top 10 team went down. What in the world is going on where LSU can't score? Vanderbilt's kicking butt. Vanderbilt's taking recruits. This is just kind of an upside down world that we're living in. The lane train craziness. What's going on in college football right now? Awesome. But I'm liking it. Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
Awesome. It's what makes college football great. It's what makes the SEC great. But I got a story up on ESPN.com right now with David Hale, one of our finest writer, about the leveling of the playing field, the fact that Indiana and Virginia and Duke and Vanderbilt can compete and can get the championship games. And, Kirby Smart used the analogy of sand. And as David wrote, it used to be sand built in the dunes and now it's spread across the beach. So I'll leave you on that.
Mark, as always, thank you so much. Are you traveling to Atlanta to cover the game?
Yep. I'm going down Friday, and I may sleep for 24 hours and then go to the football game because I didn't get back from Oxford until about Tuesday.
Gotcha.
Well, hey, Mark, this wasn't on my list of things to ask, but when we had Greg Byrne on the show, and he was talking about hiring coaches and things, he told a great story of hiring Dan Mullen. And I said, Greg, who finished second in that job? Because you interviewed several guys. And he said, I can't tell you that, but they're still coaching and they're very successful. Do you have any clue who that could have been?
We're talking Mississippi State 2020.
2012? That's No. Dan Mullen was there before I had kids, and I got 4 kids, man. So I'm guessing that's like 2008?
2009.
2009. There you go.
I'm going to have to.
Yeah, you know what? This is funny. You can laugh and make fun of me. My groom's cake had Sylvester Croom on it, and I got married in 2008, so there you go.
There you go. That is a really good question.
Right. So, Mark, be safe.
Kirby Smart?
What now?
Kirby Smart?
Could it have been?
Nah, he wouldn't have been.
I don't know the answer.
He wouldn't have been at Alabama long enough.
He just said he's still head coaching and he's very successful. And I was like,
Mark, be safe in your travels to Atlanta. Enjoy covering Georgia and Alabama. We would love to catch up with you when the selection is announced to check on where Georgia is going to play, and we will catch up with you later on, my friend.
Have a great weekend, guys. Thanks for having me.
And make my Christmas wishes come true. Write love letters to get Diego to come back one more year.
I'll do it. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, so guys, that is going to wrap up the Georgia side of this matchup. I really do want to thank Mark Schlabach for joining us. He is always a blast to join us, and he's right after these commercials from our awesome advertisers. Here we are going to switch over to the Alabama side of this matchup with Joe Gaither from Bama Central right after this. Jeff Bagwell of Honey Hole Fisheries right here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama is a professional biologist who specializes in lake management. If you are interested in helping build the pond or lake of your dreams, or if you need help deciding if property you own is a good location to build a pond, you can contact Jeff Bagwell at 205-799-0192. Once again, that is Jeff Bagwell Tackle and Honey Hole Fisheries at 205-799-0192. Contact him today and let him help you build the lake or pond of your dreams, or also stock your pond or lake with fish that you most desperately need. How would you like to live where you love in the state of Alabama? Whether it is you're upsizing, downsizing, retiring at the beach, or relocating for your job, then you are going to want to contact Celeste Hagler, owner of First Class Real Estate South Home Group, with brokers in Tuscaloosa, Orange Beach, and Huntsville. They can help you with the buying, selling, and investment needs throughout the state of Alabama. You can contact Celeste at 205-861-5698. Once again, that is 205-861-5698, and schedule a consultation to discuss your real estate goals anywhere across the state of Alabama. We all enjoy the changing of the seasons. Fall is a special time to be thankful for our families and many blessings. It is also a great time, though, to review your insurance coverages. Alpha Insurance and hometown agent Jeff Nee can help you personalize your insurance needs. The more you protect, the more you save. With helpful customer service teams right here to serve you in Alabama and over in Mississippi, you can count on Alpha to provide the insurance plan that provides the protection that you need. For all your auto, home, life, and business insurance needs, call Alpha agent Jeff Nee or drop by his office at 202 McFarland Boulevard East, Suite 101 in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And remember, with Jeff Nee, the more you protect, the more you save. Alright, so that of course is some of our wonderful advertisers there. Really do want to thank them. And Heath, let's go on ahead and transition into the Alabama side of this matchup. And to do that, we are about to be joined by Joe Gaither from Bama Central, who is a friend of mine, and Joe covers Alabama and all things Crimson Tide. Joe, how are things with you as we sit here awaiting another matchup with Alabama and Georgia?
Oh man, Stingray, things are really, really good. It's first week of December. It's a crazy busy week with the ACC SEC Challenge signing day as well, and obviously the penultimate college football ranking. So it's a lot of fun and ready to see what happens in Atlanta.
So, Joe, if you don't mind, would you please recap the Iron Bowl game this past weekend that saw Alabama jump out to a huge lead and then Auburn fight its way back into the game?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just said the whole story right there. Is Alabama defensively came out really, really well, stopping Auburn, I think, on the first 5 drives of the game, couple four 3-and-outs, and 1 stopped on downs. And so the Alabama offense was able to use these extra chances to get something going. The running game kind of got going a little bit against Auburn, and so that was a really positive thing to see for Alabama, and apparently a positive thing to see for the College Football Playoff Committee. So the running game got going. You got up 17-0, but ultimately Ashton Daniels used his legs to convert a 4th down and got Auburn kind of off the mat and started to get them rolling. I wonder if not playing Ashton Daniels and not playing several players against Mercer might have caused that slow start for Auburn offense. But Auburn ended up getting 2 field goals to the end of the half and taking it into the half and hitting big plays. I mean, it really used 3 big plays to get themselves back in the game. One of the plays in the first half got called back for illegal formation. And so it settled for a field goal to take it, 17-6. And then the second half, you had Malcolm Simmons take a 64-yarder, got loose down the sidelines. Dijon Lee kind of got his head looking at a crosser, and Malcolm Simmons went down the sidelines for 64 yards. So got Auburn back into the game, and then Simmons again on a big play. A couple of snaps after Xavier Mincy drops a would-be interception, Simmons takes it all the way down to the goal line, and Jeremiah Cobb gets in the end zone, ties it at 20, and then Alabama goes on a big old big old march. I think it was 15 plays, 6 or 7 minutes on the clock, getting all the way down, and went for it on 4th and 2. And Isaiah Horton caught his third of 3 touchdown passes, and really that was all she wrote. Auburn came back down the field, got a big old fumble. Cam Coleman fumbled, and that was basically it.
Right.
Joe, looking at this game, and I asked Mark Schlabach this question, I thought it was a little uncharacteristic that Kevin DeBoer called that 4th down call. Instead of kicking it, going for it, scored the touchdown, everyone's happy. But I thought that was a tad bit uncharacteristic. Your thoughts on that play call and any guesses why he decided to go for it and not kick it?
I'm going to disagree a little bit about the uncharacteristic designation, because I think that, Alabama's gone for it on 4th down a lot under Coach DeBoer in the last 2 years. And you can go back to Washington. They're up against Oregon, and they're backed up in their own end. It was 4th and 1, 4th and 2, and they ended up going with a kind of an option look. I think Coach DeBoer likes to play aggressively. And was I surprised that they actually went for it right there? I thought, okay, you're laying it out on the table again. I wasn't as surprised may not have been the right designation, but I was pretty anxious. I thought, well, you're putting it right there back on the defense. And look, at 98 yards, for the defense had been playing well, 90-something yards behind them. I thought it wasn't really that I didn't think it was that big of a risk, because I thought the defense had been playing really, really well throughout the game, except for those couple big plays. The Auburn offense really wasn't doing a whole lot. It took Ashton Daniels 23 carries to get those 108 yards, and one of them was a 20-yard run. So really, it was 22 carries for 80-something yards. It wasn't really that consistent of an offense for Auburn all night. But I thought that was pretty quintessential Kalen DeBoer to go for it right there, and for them to have a play dialed up. And I kind of think they thought, if we get this, if we score, that's going to be the dagger in the gut that really ends this game.
So when we move to the SEC championship game and the matchup with Georgia, can you please talk about, from the Alabama side, why you feel like that Alabama has dominated Georgia and Kirby is 1-7 against the Crimson Tide?
Oh, well, that's a big question, because I think that every game has a life of its own. And you've got some decisions by Kirby Smart that have come back to bite him. I guess you can just go right back to this last game, going for it on 4th and 1 instead of kicking the game-tying field goal. I think that Kirby has pressed in this game a little bit, and maybe has gotten a little lost in the game flow at different times. But I think every game is a little bit different, and why Alabama has won these games. Maybe, under Coach Saban, I do think that you've got a better feel for kind of how the game is flowing. And Georgia, to me, honestly, Stingray, a lot of it comes down to quarterback play. I know Stetson Bennett was 2-time national champion, but I don't know many people that would call him a dynamic quarterback. And I think that Alabama has struggled going up against dynamic quarterbacks. I think Georgia has really used game manager type quarterbacks, and Stetson maybe game manager's a little bit of a slant to Stetson, but I don't think so. Really, I think he was a super game manager. He hit 2 throws against Georgia in that against Alabama in that 2021 national championship game. Threw one up to George Pickens that he caught, and then threw one up late in the game to win that game. So he did hit 2 big throws, but outside of that, Georgia's not really had dynamic quarterback play in these games. And so I think that's what it's kind of come down to. I think back to Jake Fromm throwing a football off of an Alabama player's helmet up into the air, turning the football over. So you combine maybe not as dynamic a quarterback play and Kirby Smart kind of feeling the pressure, feeling the tension, and kind of pressing in some of these situations. I think that's caused Georgia to struggle in some of these games. I think the defense on both sides has been really, really good. But I think Alabama, you look at Alabama's quarterback play for the last handful of these matchups. Bryce Young, Jalen Milroe come to mind, and Ty Simpson most recently in this game. Alabama was 13 of 19 on 3rd down, and Ty Simpson was absolutely dealing in that first game up in Athens, hitting big throws. He couldn't run the football for anything, but he's hitting big throws in big situations, keeping Alabama's offense on the field. I think that's really been the difference. It's kind of the quarterback play between both sides and Kirby kind of pressing the game flow a little too much.
Right.
Joe, looking at this big showdown, and Stephen didn't want Georgia and Alabama. I did. We were texting back and forth. I wanted this game. I wanted to see this game again because these fan bases don't like each other. These fan bases, someone's going to be completely ruined and heartbroken after this weekend, and just fuming mad. And that's why we love the SEC, is for games like this. What is one thing that you are looking forward to the most in this game? It could be offense, it could be defense, it could be a matchup, it could be whatever it might be. What is the one thing you are looking forward to the most?
Well, I think I'm looking forward to seeing Alabama's defense again against this Georgia offense because it goes back to what I was just talking about. I think Gunner's a good quarterback, but how does he deal with the Alabama defense, especially going back to the first matchup? I don't think he dealt with reading over the middle of the field very, very well. But Georgia lived off of explosive runs. They had 6 runs, I think, that were 30 yards or more in that game, and you take those 6 runs away. Well, Alabama's defense looks pretty good against the run, but you can't take those 6 runs away. Georgia was able to hit, Dylan Bell on a fake reverse, and they ended up with a couple of Chauncey Bowens with a couple of big runs as well. So I think I'm really interested to see if Alabama's defense can slow down, can kind of stop these big explosive runs from the Georgia offense. But if Gunner is able to read the field and make plays across the middle and throw the football well, I think Gunner is going to be running the football a little bit more. And I think Alabama through the year has kind of been okay in some situations against quarterback run, but pretty bad in other situations against quarterback run. Thomas Castellanos comes to mind in the season opener, and Diego Pavia ripped off a couple of big quarterback runs as well. And obviously John Mateer with Oklahoma, basically their only main offensive touchdown was a 20-yard quarterback run. So I think that Georgia's going to be using Gunner's legs a little bit. I'm very curious to see kind of just the chess match between Mike Bobo and Kane Womack. I think that's the main aspect that I'm looking forward to in this game, because I think that there were things that Alabama did really well in that first matchup, but some things that they didn't do well, particularly in the explosive run department. And I'm wondering how much growth Gunner Stockton has had in his game.
So, Joe, how do you ultimately see it playing out in Atlanta, Alabama, or Georgia this time around? And this will be the 4th meeting between the two since Kirby Smart took over at Georgia in the SEC championship game. The 3 previous ones have gone the way of the Crimson Tide of Alabama.
Yeah, and you can go back even one more. I think Alabama is 4-0 in this matchup against Georgia in the SEC championship. Yep. Mark Rick, I think it was 2012 was the Aaron Murray game. So until that trend changes, you probably need to ride the trend of Alabama. I wouldn't be surprised if Georgia wins, really, because I think both teams are really, really quality football teams. But I see a pretty lower scoring game. I think that I'm seeing somewhere around 21-17, 24-20, somewhere in that. I think you're going to see a pretty lower scoring game, because I think both defenses, Alabama's offense has not looked good over the last 4 or 5, 6 weeks or so. And so, Alabama's offense still hasn't been able to run the ball very consistently. Right. Was able to kind of get something going against Auburn, but I think Ty Simpson has been a little bit off of his, 100% self. I think he's kind of dealing with a little back issue maybe, and has kind of struggled to be the efficient quarterback that he was at the beginning of the year. So I kind of see, a really low scoring game, and you're going every yard, every yard is going to be really important. I think I see Alabama winning 21-17.
So, Joe, I do have to ask you, if Alabama drops this game, they will have a 3-loss record to Florida State, then to Oklahoma, and then to Georgia. Do you still feel like with 3 losses that they can still get into the college football playoffs?
Well, I think they should, but do I think that they will? I think is a huge question. Hunter Yurchek was extremely political on Tuesday night, saying we're going to re-rank the teams again. We're going to re-rank the teams again after the conference championship game. And I think there's definitely a world. Like it depends on how the loss happens. You look back at State last season, Iowa State got beat by Arizona State by 19. And obviously they went into the matchup at like 15 or 16, 14, 15, 16 in that range, and they were left out. Arizona State goes to the college football playoff. Alabama's at 9 right now, and I do see a world that Alabama falls from 9 to 12. It gets bumped out by whoever wins, Tulane, ACC champion, maybe James Madison, and that's going to set the college football world on fire, really. I see, if BYU wins, I think it depends on these other results. If BYU is able to beat Texas Tech, or they're going to jump in and steal a bid, they'll move up, and Texas Tech won't drop down far enough to be out of the playoff. I think that Alabama should stay in, but I can see a lot of scenarios where Alabama does fall out.
Yes.
Joe, do you think Vandy has a chance? I know we're talking randomly, but we're talking about the college football playoff. Do you think Vandy gets the chance? Because Vandy's trying to get a 13th game going right now. So is there a chance that, that news broke here less than an hour ago? Let's just say Vanderbilt plays whoever. I don't know if they play an ACC school, another SEC school, Middle Tennessee State. I don't know who they play. Well, they get another game. They get another win. Is Vandy getting in?
Well, they need to call Notre Dame or Miami and try to see if they can get something on the books right now. But
that would be better than most of the championship games.
I don't think that they'll get that 13th game. And even if they do, I don't think that they're going to be in. But what I do think is that Clark Lee is going to change the way we have championship weekend this weekend. I think that the College Football Playoff Committee and the NCAA is going to think, that's a great idea. All you SEC, ACC championship games, Big 12, Big 10 championship games are still on the books, but I think they're going to think about having some sort of a game weekend slot where it's the bubble teams are starting to play each other, and so you've got the Alabama folks and the Georgia folks too saying, why do we have to play an extra game when Ole Miss has to stay at home? Why do we have to play an extra game when Oklahoma has to stay at home? Or Notre Dame just gets to sit on their rear end this week and watch Alabama play. Miami is in the same boat. I think if you're the College Football Playoff Committee, they're going to open up some options in future years to where this weekend becomes the bubble teams that are not in conference championship games matching up against one another to help settle it on the field. And that's how they can say, well, it's more than a 12-team playoff. It's a 16-game playoff, or it's they're going to juke the number right there. Well, it's really an 18-team playoff because of these extra games on conference championship weekend. You lost on conference championship game weekend to another bubble team. You're out. That was a playoff, a de facto playoff game. I think that that's going to be the way that they kind of juke how many teams. Oh, it's a bigger playoff field because of these extra games. And so I think Clark Lee's onto something. And honestly, as a college football fan, you bet your butt I'd be sitting right there watching them and every snap getting ready to watch these games. Vanderbilt, Miami, give me that all day.
Right.
I've been saying this for years, Joe, and feel free to hate on it, love it, or nominate me for president of the United States. But I've always said, back when we had the divisions, I was like, why don't we play a division championship game? And I was like, and if you don't like that, just say whoever finished 2 in the East has to travel to number 1 in the West and vice versa. And the winners go to the SEC championship game. You might have 2 West teams, you might have 2 East teams, but it eliminates one of the divisions being weak that year, and you get the best team. Now we're doing it this way, and it's kind of the old way how we used to do it. But going on what you just said, and this is why you might want to elect me for president, this 9th game that the SEC is going to add, it should be played this weekend and push the SEC championship game back another weekend, and basically let everybody play. And it's basically for bowl selection, and the upper seeds get to be the home team. But if it's 3 and 4, 4 has to travel to 3. You win that game, you get the better bowl. Hey, you win this game, you're going to the Citrus Bowl, whatever. this game. You win this game, you're going to, wherever. And just kind of have a bowl pecking order of, so because SEC fans feel jaded, especially the middle tier teams or some of the lower tier teams that have good seasons. They're like, man, we should have been in Tampa this year, and now we're at the Liberty Bowl. They're jaded about it, and it's not fair. So with that, I think that ninth game should be kind of like a playoff game. It should represent bowl something another. And people are like, well, you can't prepare, blah, blah, blah. So what? The NFL can't prepare for playoffs. I mean, they do it. They're professional. High school teams can't do it. The division below you can't do it. The division above you can't do it. And you're saying that college teams can't do it? Bull crap. I remember COVID. We made up games during the middle of the week. Vandy's trying to do it now. So with that, with the ninth game, should we do some kind of play-in for everybody in the conference?
Only two reasons I'll disagree is the lack of prestige that the Bulls have had over the last five, really since the playoffs have happened, 2014, 15, but more specifically the last couple of years. Because I don't think, Alabama, I don't think they gave a rip what bowl they were in last year. They were mad to be left out. And the second reason is because you've got to have that ninth game help the balance of the schedule. You're playing six other opponents. You've got your three permanent teams. Well, the six then flip. As the 4 years go on, you've played every team home and away. And so to make that ninth game a little bit of a wild card or a little bit of a just open kind of living, breathing matchup, whoever you match up with, it will change kind of the balance of the schedule, and it'll change. Maybe you didn't get to play at Mississippi State or didn't get to play at Florida during your 4 years. And personally, I love the fact that if you stay in school, I mean, nobody's doing it anymore, and stay at the same school for 4 years, then you'll play in every SEC stadium. I think that's a beautiful thing. But obviously, not many players are staying at the same school for 4 years. That's my only pushback there. Do I love the aspect of kind of matching up especially when you had East and West divisions to play fourth in the East plays fourth in the West. Oh, that would have been so great. But I think the way that college football has changed over the last 4 or 5 years has kind of maybe made me think about that a little differently.
I just always wanted to see, and I'll let you get going, Stephen. I always wanted to see the two last place teams and make them play at the old, where the original SEC championship game was played in Birmingham. Make the two last place teams because there's going to be like less than 1,000 people there. But you have to accept a loser's trophy. The school president, athletic director, head coach, and the captains of the team have to go accept the loser trophy at the 50-yard line. How great would that be?
Great for you and me. Horrible
for
the fan bases and horrible for the kids.
But don't you think there would be a lot of passion in that game? Like, I don't want to accept that loser's trophy.
You're right. It would be a bloodbath on the field. You're right.
And who do we name that trophy after? We got to name it after somebody in the SEC that we don't like or a coach that just didn't pan out. I'll let you think on that one, Joe.
All right. So, Joe, look, man, this has been a blast. Be safe in your travels over to Atlanta to cover the SEC championship game. Good luck to Alabama, and we will definitely catch up with you later on to talk about whether Alabama gets into the playoffs with a win or if they are left out with a loss.
We'll see, Stingray. Thanks so much for having me.
All
what
right.
about the Mike Shula trophy?
Oh, maybe. but you probably need to name it after a different Mike. You need to name it after the one who didn't even Mike Price didn't even coach at Alabama,
That's
right?
it. Yeah. You just won.
Yes.
The Mike Price trophy. There it is. The price is wrong.
All right.
Have a great day, guys. Thank y'all so much.
You. All right.
You're good, Joe.
All right. So, Heath, that is going to wrap up the Alabama and Georgia preview show of the SEC championship game. Heath, briefly, after this commercial, do you want to do a post show?
Yeah, why not, man? We hadn't done one in a while.
Okay.
What are we going to talk about?
The National Day of Today.
Let's do it.
All right. We will do that right after this message from our official show sponsor.
Get your questions and comments in.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Ferguson of South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show, has a message for you.
Everything we do here is fresh and custom made, custom to order. I tell people when they come in, if you don't see what you like, ask somebody. We've got the capability to process it, make it. If you want a different blend of hamburger meat, we'll do your brisket blend. We'll do your chuck blend. We'll do your sirloin blend. We do all that right here. We are a butcher shop. That's what we do. So please don't be afraid to ask if you don't see what you like. We can make you any size patty you want. We can make you any amount you want. People call me and say, well, how many patties come in the box? Well, ma'am, how many would you like in a box? You want 12, we'll put 12. You want 25, we'll put 25.
That's just one of the many things that South's Finest Meats has to offer, the official butcher shop of the Stingray Show. Alright, so this is officially the post-show of the Stingray Show for Thursday, December the 4th. And Heath, today is National Sock Day.
Steven, are you ready for this? I didn't know this. My 16-year-old daughter yesterday, Hayden Page, it was my night to cook. So, of course, we're picking up drive-through. And she said, I want McDonald's. And I was like, okay, why? And she said, I want the Grinch meal. And I was like, what? So it's like like a Happy Meal box. It's a little bit bigger.
Right.
You get like these pickled fries. And it comes with socks, Grinch socks, in the Happy Meal. I made the jokes like, I think your Grinch fries are going to taste just like the socks. Like the socks might taste better. I don't know.
Right. All right. It is also National Cookie Day. So, what is your favorite and least favorite cookie?
Oatmeal cookies are probably my least favorite.
Yes.
I just don't like the oatmeal cookies that much. If you do it right, yeah, maybe. But like oatmeal raisin cookies, like no, I'll pass. I'll go with. It's hard to beat a chocolate chip cookie, man.
Right.
I will say I do like the chocolate dough with the peanut butter chunks in it. That's some good stuff, man. That's solid.
My least favorite is oatmeal raisin. I cannot stand anything with raisins in it. And my favorite is white chocolate macadamia nut.
Well, there you go.
All right. And Heath, we will wrap up with the most festive one of all. Today, on December the 4th, is Santa's List Day. This is officially the day that Santa puts together his list of naughty and nice children. It is also a day for kids to start working on their holiday wish list.
Oh, geez, my kid's holiday wish list starts on like December 26th for the following year. That's interesting, Stephen. Yeah, I'm sure Santa puts that list together. I wonder if he does it by like continent, or if Santa does it by like age, or does he do it alphabetically by last name?
All right, and Heath, one more tradition is Santa's Naughty and Nice list. The first mention of that list occurred in the song Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Fred Coots and Haven Gillespie wrote the fun Christmas song, and can you guess that year?
I actually saw something about this the other day. Gene Autry was riding in a Christmas parade, and he heard all the kids like, here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa, here comes Santa, here comes Santa Claus. And he had the idea for the song, and he went to those two guys like, hey, can you write the song Here Comes Santa Claus? And they came up with the music, and Gene Autry helped with the lyrics and everything else. Man, Gene Autry, man, he did a lot of movies. I'm going to say it's going to be sometime in the 40s or 50s. I'll go 50s. 56.
1934.
Whoa, I was way off.
Yep, 1934. Okay, now the whole idea of kids being naughty or nice may have come from 16th century Holland. Before then, kids were placed with candy and cookies in their stockings and the naughty children got lumps of coal.
I wonder how many kids really got a lump of coal.
I don't.
I got a my wife has an aunt, and I'm not her favorite person. I say that with a smile on my face. And so one year we were doing gifts, and so anyway, I wasn't expecting anything, and so anyway, there was like randomly this gift showed up. Like, oh wow! I was like, what's this? It didn't have. It just said to Heath, and it didn't have anything on it. And I picked up the bag, and it was heavy. I'm like, what in the world? And so anyway, I opened it up. I can't remember if it was a rock or a brick. I think it was a brick. And so she thought she was so funny. And so anyway, I just looked at her and I said, and Holly, this is the fourth best brick anyone's ever given me for Christmas. Thank you.
All right, and so Heath, briefly, we do have one comment that I do want to put up on the thing, and this would actually, unfortunately, kill you if you ate it.
Oh, yeah. I can do peanuts, but John, tree nuts. Yeah, I'm the weird one. I'm the bubble boy. I'm deathly allergic to tree nuts. So there you go. So John, you can get me a whole thing of candied pecan cookies, and I'll have to turn around and give them right back to you.
Yes, like I tried to do, and send you a nice gift of nuts one year, not knowing that you are deathly allergic, and unfortunately, you are deathly allergic.
But my parents thoroughly enjoyed that gift.
That's awesome. All right, so Heath, that is going to wrap up the Georgia and Alabama SEC Championship preview show. We've got one more show this week before the championship games begin. Tomorrow morning, right back here at 9 a.m., we are going to we are going to do another show, and this one will be with Dan Wolken, national senior writer for the USA Today. Dan Wolken joins us tomorrow on this edition of the Stingray Show.
Yeah, Dan, good friend of the show, has been with us, I don't know, maybe half a dozen times. I can't remember. But he's been with us several times in the past, and always looking forward to Dan. Dan always has some fun, sometimes outrageous takes, but they're always entertaining.
Yes. All right. So, guys, we will see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. with the Dan Wolken Show right here on the Stingray Show. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and we will leave you with some more commercials from our wonderful advertisers. We want to thank them, and we also want to thank you guys for tuning in every single day to watch us here on the Stingray Show. Heath, you got anything else?
And I got nothing today, man. I tell you what, I got a ton of work to do. That's what I got.
Go get it done, man.
Man, I ain't got no choice.
The chill is in the air, and what goes well with cold weather? Soups. The Coker Market, located in Coker, Alabama, has the following soups to choose from. Meaty vegetable soup, which is absolutely delicious. Loaded potato soup. Black bean soup. Smoked ham and white bean chili. Regular chili, which is another great option, or Creole gumbo. Now, the Coker Market is open Wednesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until 7 p.m. And to find out which soups they are going to have each day, you can find out at the Coker Market's Facebook page, The Coker Market. So check out their Facebook page today to see what kind of soups that the Coker Market is going to have, and go by there and get warmed up with some of the soups there at the Coker Market. For over 100 years, the Bank of Moundville has been a name clients can trust. The Bank of Moundville is more than just a bank. They're your neighbors, your friends, and your community partners. Their unique approach to financial education has always centered around families. They believe that financially strong homes today lay the foundation for a brighter futures for tomorrow's generation. You can call them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is 371-2227 to schedule an appointment to build your financial security. The Bank of Moundville is a member FDIC and an equal housing lender. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Ferguson of South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show, has a message for you.
Everything we do here is fresh and custom made, custom to order. I tell people when they come in, if you don't see what you like, ask somebody. We've got the capability to process it, make it. If you want a different blend of hamburger meat, we'll do your brisket blend. We'll do your chuck blend. We'll do your sirloin blend. We do all that right here. We are a butcher shop. It's what we do. So please don't be afraid to ask if you don't see what you like. We can make you any size patty you want. We can make you any amount you want. People call me and say, well, how many patties come in the box? Well, ma'am, how many would you like in a box? You want 12, we'll put 12. You want 25, we'll put 25.
That's just one of the many things that South's Finest Meats has to offer, the official butcher shop of the Stingray Show. And guys, one final announcement I do want to make here. It is Thursday, and the NFL game tonight is going to be the 6-5-1 Cowboys going to the Lions to take on the Detroit Lions at 7:15 tonight on Prime Video. Detroit is currently a 3-point favorite, and the over-under is 54.5. So if you are a NFL fan, the Cowboys take on the Lions tonight at 7:15 on Prime Video, and we will see you tomorrow morning right back here on the Sting.